Gotham TV Podcast, episode 81, where we're talking about Gotham Season 3, episode 4, A New Day Rising.
Hey, this is Drew Powell. I play Butch Egilsson on Gotham, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Hey there, Gothamites. Welcome back to our discussion about Season 3, Episode 4, New Day Rising. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
Hi, I'm one of your other hosts, John.
Great to be back on Gotham on a regular basis, once a week, every week now.
Absolutely. Thank the Jervis Tetch. Really good to be back podcasting on all things to do with Season 3 Gotham. It was a long wait, as we've already said, but great to be regularly podcasting.
Absolutely. And what a great episode. Lots of stuff going up on this episode.
Yeah, this is another good episode of Gotham. I think, as it goes, they do ensemble really well. Mm-hmm. It's sometimes when they focus weirdly, I think, so it's when they focus on just maybe one aspect that sometimes it kind of just drops off. And I think now that they've kind of gotten into this groove of doing an ensemble piece literally every week so far in Season 3, it's really stepped up a notch for me. Yeah. And again, I think this is a really solid episode of Gotham. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, I think it's time to get into it. And there is a reason behind why this episode had a lot of good connections for some of the main characters, mostly behind the camera and some of the people involved. As always, I'll tell you some of the background notes for the episode. This episode was written by, let's start with writing. It was written by Robert Hull, who's written 3 other episodes so far of Gotham. He wrote Mommy's Little Monster in Season 2, Mag Grey Dawn, and Pinewood also in Season 2. So lots of history within the Gotham show. And he'll be back for episode 10 of this season. And this episode was directed by Eaglesson, who's been with us all the way back to Season 1, from What the Little Bird Told Him, through Beasts of Prey, Last Laugh, A Dead Man Feels No Cold, and the finale of Season 2, Transference. So he's really experienced in Gotham, and I think there's a couple of touches that we'll point out as the episode goes on that really show you his style within the show. Definitely. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis of this episode?
Yeah, absolutely. Subject 514A, aka 5, or Emo Bruce, assists Selina in robbing a bar and rescues her when she is captured, but she sees the scars on his body and identifies him as an imposter. 5 admits he wanted to experience a normal life by socializing with someone, but Selina reassures him that he is quite normal, more than he thinks, and they kiss. Tetch hypnotizes the wrestling Tweedle brothers to help him break into the GCPD and kidnap Alice, but Gordon and Bullock track them down. Gordon finds himself still under the suicidal influence of Tetch's hypnosis, realizing his suicidal urges are connected to his issues with Lee. Gordon begins to overcome them and breaks the spell. Alice falls and is impaled on a pipe, leaving a grief-stricken Tetch to escape, whilst proclaiming that it's your fault to Jim Gordon. Whilst investigating the crime scene, Barnes becomes infected by Alice's dripping blood. Meanwhile, in the election, Cobblepota bribes campaigns officials to buy the election, but Enigma takes the money back. To Cobblepot's shock, he wins the election anyway, and realizes Enigma wanted to show him that the people genuinely wanted him as mayor. 5 bids farewell to Bruce and tries to leave Gotham, but is kidnapped by the Court of Owls.
Yes, what a great moment at the end of this episode. But I think we'll get there as we go along. The way we're covering our episodes, in case this is your first time joining us, we cover our episodes by choosing our top 5 points about them and talking all around them and a couple of notes at the end. I think we're going to start off with a bit of love, John, are we?
Yes, I think it is. I believe in Harvey Dent. I believe in Oswald Cobblepot. It's Oswald wins the election.
Yes.
Running as mayor, he is doing his utmost to win, bribing the election board, bribing other officials, and a really interesting moment with both Enigma and with Butch Egilsson, where they're kind of coming to sort of loggerheads. There's a real suspicion and distrust between them. Initially, I was wondering, is this Butch making a play? I mean, he was, but in terms of not to kind of take over from Oswald or to kill him or something, but just simply to begin the running of the criminal underworld. You know, he would be in a high place. He could take the bribes. You know, he could allow the gang to really blossom with this new arrangement with Oswald Cobblepot elected. He's elected anyway, but it all kind of reverses on him because it's elected. Oswald is elected through just his sheer personality, the fact that people actually do want him, and Enigma has always believed in Oswald Cobblepot, and he wins the election. You know, this is Nigmobblepot realised.
Writ large, really.
The bromance, the love is there, and the chief of staff, not the chief of stiff, is going to be Enigma.
I know. That's really interesting.
Yeah, really, really interesting turnaround. I mean, I can absolutely understand Butch's frustration where he's like, what? Now? Why? You know, I mean, kind of turning on the whole electoral strategy of Oswald's campaign, which was to bribe people. You know, Butch probably should be rewarded for that, I think. Whereas instead the rug is fully pulled from under his feet. He is literally back to being the chief enforcer or the muscle in this relationship. So,
like, we're big Butch supporters over here at Gotham TV Podcast,
absolutely,
as you can probably tell from our intro and outro every week. So I did feel really bad for poor Butch here.
I did,
especially because he was effectively carrying out the orders given to him by Oswald. Oswald tells him to put the gun to Ed's head, knowing that he couldn't win the election without the bribes that Ed had taken back. Yeah. But it turns out he won anyway. So Oswald and Butch had exactly the same belief in Oswald winning this election, but Butch is the one going to pay the price for it, you know?
Definitely. And I mean, we did have a theory about whether, you know, Butch, you know, which side, whose side is he ultimately going to come down on? Yeah. Is it on Oswald's? Is it on Fish Mooney, who is still out there? Or is it on his own? And this kind of episode seemed to suggest he was going to make a play on his own, but still be loyal to Oswald. Yeah. Now I'm not so sure. Now I think he realizes he's always going to be playing second fiddle to the Riddler. Yeah. Certainly even more so now that the love and the bromance between these two has been cemented with a riddle. I can't be bought, but I can be stolen at a glance. I am worthless to one, but priceless to two. Love.
Oh, lovely Valentine's Day moment for the two of them.
Exactly. So, I mean, like, really, this was, I think, really good. And I mean, even just the fact that, you know, there's that initial moment where Oswald has his moment of saying, I thought you were my friend. You were supposed to be my friend. I thought you were my friend. And you kind of know when he starts talking about friends that either he's going to bribe you or he's probably going to kill you because he's realised, no, you're not a friend because you don't do what he wants. I'm wondering whether things are going to get complicated down the road, though, for Nigmogglepot. So it'll be interesting because I just wonder,
Yeah, it was a really interesting one. I would have liked a scene in the episode that wasn't the scene that Ed staged in front of Oswald, where he paid a little girl to say, thank you so much for taking care of the monsters. I would have kind of liked to have seen that the city of Gotham was behind Oswald, because they have really re-elected Mayor Aubrey many, many times, it seems. So why is it that they've gone for Oswald Cobblepot, other than it serves the show a bit? I kind of was hoping that scene with the little girl, suddenly it makes sense to me. Of course, they can't trust their police force, so they're going for Oswald because he took out the monsters. Yeah,
and I mean that was a great little scene anyway, because it made the point that Enigma was trying to make, but like at the time Oswald just didn't see it. But it did give you some explanation, and I agree. It was kind of like, I felt as though the election campaign was just starting, which it really was, and then by the end of the show, it's done, dusted, and he's elected mayor. Now, it's one of those things you've got to scoot through certain aspects. But
of course.
Again, I think this was really quite quick. But I mean, and unlike the real presidential elections in the USA, that doesn't happen.
No, certainly not. No.
Probably not even a mayoral election. But it is good to see that Oswald Cobblepota has consistently oranged up like Commander-in-Chief here.
There is certainly a moment there when I was seeing them pay tribute in the show to the president of the US. Yes.
No offense intended, and but it did look like the whole sun-kissed orange. I was expecting the salty bedhead, surfer dude type thing as well going on. So yeah.
But now I do remember complaining in season 2 about how quickly the election happened for James Frain's character in season 2, Theo Gallivan. How quickly he got elected to mayor. So maybe this is just how they do it in Gotham. You put up a couple of posters around the city. A little call out on a side street, and then suddenly the election happens. And
in a day, done and dusted. Yeah, at least it's cheaper.
Absolutely.
Less waffle.
I think we need to get out of the political realm, though, John.
Me too.
Yes, let's move on to one of the more interesting sides of the episode. We have, and I forgot where we were going. We're going to Alice and her tea party.
Big time, yeah. And it ended up being a fairly tragic tea party for poor old Alice. But this was really, really good. I thought there are a number of things in this. First of all, just, the relationship between Jervis Tetch and his sister. She's absolutely petrified. But we start to get this realization that Tetch has been using his hypnotic powers, which she says is more than that. It really gets under your skin and controls your life. That's what he was doing to her. That's the reason for her running away. There's this great moment of sort of foreboding the ultimate impaling of poor Alice on a fairground ride, but where he goes, I don't want to lose you. You're the thing that stops me from becoming insane. And I mean, he's already fairly cracked. But here now, and as he's running off saying it's your fault to Jim Gordon, that he's just going to get crazy, and it'll be interesting to see what level of transformation is going to happen to Jervis Tetch in the show. I mean, he's already pretty crazy. I mean, that opening scene where it looks like he's using the hammer of Harley Quinn. Ding ding ding. He gets the bell on the power. On the power, I don't know what you call it. It's not a ride machine. The test of
strength tester.
The test of strength. Like he gets it, but unfortunately, between the hammer and the pressure pad is someone's head. So or the janitor's head for the fairground storage.
This is definitely
really, really cool.
This is definitely one of the ones really I wanted to point out from Egilsson's direction in the episode. It's one that just stood out so well. I love the idea of the camera panning up as the bell rings and blood spatters across it. A really good little use of the camera in that scene. Really
exactly, and but it's all about Alice's blood as well. She is the blood, and Jervis is the mind, and Jervis thinks that she completes him. I mean, one of the things I thought in this episode I was surprised Alice was still conscious. She had so much blood taken out of her from Leslie Tompkins at the GCPD, and then by her own brother. But it was more for nefarious reasons. There was that moment where we all kind of probably thought, he needs her blood for his own powers. That's where he's getting them from. But in the end, he says, this is probably going to go into a public fountain, and I'll create more monsters. Gotham is going to get more monsters.
A really nice Joker callback. That's a really Joker kind of plan that you come up with, where you put it into a random water fountain kind of idea. Definitely.
So it was really, really good. I think the other thing about this whole kind of through line of Alice being kidnapped, broken out from the GCPD was also that we get to see the Tweedle brothers, and this is this is fantastic nod to the comics, Tweedledum, Tweedledee, as well from Alice in Wonderland. All of that. I mean, they show up in the Arkham City series of Batman video games, console games. So really, really cool to see the Tweedles in this episode. Yeah. Another part of the Batman canon brought to life here. Absolutely. So absolutely fantastic.
Very long-standing characters. Have been around since 1943. Also created by Bob Kane, who was one of the co-creators of Batman, obviously. But yeah, they've been around for decades. They have generally been their own bad guys. They've been leaders of the gang. But I really like incorporating the two of them together. It's absolutely obvious that you would have Tweedledum, Tweedledee, Mad Hatter, and this character of Alice all really gathered together in one scene.
Diva and Dumfrey,
yes,
were the two Tweedles.
That's right.
And they,
just like in the comics, exactly the same.
And they got twaddled by the GCPD. No, they were still there, but two
of the other brothers didn't.
Yeah, two of the other brothers didn't, and neither did their masks. Can't remember what Bullock called them now, but yeah, they like to get buried in them, and he used that as a good old bargaining tool in the interrogation.
Did learn a nice little bit about Harvey's past there, that his dad used to bring him along to wrestling matches in the old days, so he knows all about these guys. So really nice little use of Harvey's history there, which is always
definitely.
good to see. Yeah.
I mean, I think as well, this is a strange relationship between Alice and Jervis Tetch, and I think the other great little kind of contrast, or not contrast, but the comparison was that there was a nice other strange relationship in this episode of Jim Gordon and Leslie Tompkins, and it kind of plays within and mirrors everything that seems to be going on between Alice and Jervis Tetch to some degree or another, and there's some really good moments, I think, within this episode between Jim and Leslie, where we get a bit more of a window into that whole area where Jim goes to the other city and sees Leslie laughing away with Mario.
That's
but
right.
I thought, I just thought this was a really nice little touch. I know we can't change the past, Leslie says, but there's a difference to moving on and letting go. And this is in response to effectively Jim clamming up, being about as emotionally reactive, as a dead cat. He simply goes, the past is the past, and this was a really, really just nice little moment between these two characters. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I liked how it kind of mirrored the strain between Alice and Tetch in some way, where Alice is the one who doesn't want to have that connection, which Jervis does, and in the same way here, at least until the end, Jim is still trying to back away from her and keep that emotional distance and just simply say the past is the past and moving on. Whereas Leslie is trying to at least maintain the fact that, well, they could be friends or there was a relationship there. So I thought that was quite nice in this episode.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I know the kind of reminder of their relationship is really important in the show as well. They did have a very strong relationship. She was carrying his baby, she lost the baby and had to deal with the whole thing without Jim. And Jim's obviously, he's playing on the idea that if he separates himself for her, he'll be happier, or she'll be happier in her life if he steers clear of her, which is what is eating him up inside. It's what Jervis has attached to and is driving him to kill himself throughout this episode, all the way through it. So really good that they've used Leslie as a character to bring him back from the brink. It's something that he needs. He needs to have some kind of grounding. Everybody else that he works with or is around seems not to be able to do anything for him, anything to help him get off this kind of cliff that Jervis pushed him over the edge of. So
and it's really interesting to see that hypnotic conditioning, that impression that Jervis has had, it is still there with him every time the tick tock goes of a clock, or indeed a pelican crossing. Really, really good little sort of moment there where everybody thinks that it's over in the instant. but it's not. It's
Yeah.
still with him.
Let's hope he doesn't go to a grandfather clock shop at any stage. Or
Well,
anything like
absolutely. But, like, I thought that moment where Jervis and Jim meet in the GCPD as they're breaking Alice out, and there's just that standoff, and you get the eyes again as he's bringing Jim back into that zone of hypnosis. And the gun just comes up to his head, like, really properly not like cool, I think. And then saved by Captain Barnes.
Yeah, with a great hit from that crutch to the back of the head. So there is something that connects the 2 points, obviously, which is our third point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Barnes gets infected.
Yes, the blood transfer as well. Yeah.
Oh, big time. This is really cool, I think.
This is really an interesting setup. So we see Barnes early on in the episode where he's standing with Jim in the GCPD, and you see him kind of crumple a little bit on his crutch. Jim sees what's happening and asks him, is he okay? And Barnes is having none of it. So we do know that Barnes is still being affected by the attack that Theo Gallivan had on him at the end of last season, so that's still affecting him. So there was a call out in this episode that the blood does something different to everybody that is infected by the blood. So I'm wondering if something that may have happened to him, this attack that happened to him by Theo, will turn him stronger, will turn him a different way. Any theories on what we think it could be? Like, he's obviously, as the captain of the police force, being beaten down by a criminal who's just slightly mad, basically, which is what happened to Gallivan, could have had some deep-seated effects on Captain Barnes.
It could be. I mean, yeah, we get to find out in this episode that the blood brings out or reveals one's true self. So it will be interesting to see. Captain Barnes is hugely controlling. He's hugely authoritarian in terms of his approach. He's ex kind of military. You saw that with the Strike Force 1, the cadets and so on. But at the same time, he's gone through a series of, like, in effect, setbacks. He was brought in to clean up everything, the GCPD and Gotham, and instead things have gotten worse under his watch. He's effectively had bad relationships with Jim Gordon, who was, at one point his second in command. So, how has that affected his true self, and how will that manifest through being infected then with this drop of blood? So I can't really wait to see what happens here. I'm not entirely sure of a character off the top of my head. I really can't think, and maybe again it's a new character to the show. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with an infected Captain Barnes. Like, I'm wondering, because he only got a drop, will he feel an effect that improves the condition that he's been afflicted with through the first part of this season, and leading him to have the crutch? Will it kind of improve that so he doesn't need the crutch anymore, and so in effect he becomes addicted to it? So we know that there's the blood recovered from the scene of the crime, and the blood that Leslie Tompkinson's got. So will he kind of keep dipping into these reserves?
Interesting,
where it builds up to levels that make him go absolutely crazy. To what extent does he keep a handle on it whilst he's the captain of the GCPD? Or is it just going to send him completely and utterly crazy? And we're going to have this transformation of Captain Barnes, which we were kind of aware of anyway was going to happen based on kind of the synopsis of the first part of this season, Mad City. So this will be really interesting, I think, to see what happens. Yeah,
definitely. I think obviously it's a really good theory that he may be dipping into the reserves of blood that have been taken from Alice. That's a very good use of them. It was very clear that there was about 6 vials that Jervis Tetch took, another 2 potentially that Leslie took as well. So there's quite a few vials of blood out there for him to dip into. And we did see a bit of the transformation at the end of the episode. We did see his face kind of bulb out, his veins pop a bit,
the eyes go bloodshot, and so on. Yeah,
another great moment again for this another great scene, I suppose, for the episode as well. I don't know. I'm kind of there's definitely part of me that's kind of wondering, is this Solomon Grundy a character from the comic books, a really well built, strong character?
That's true, but he's effectively dead, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be absolutely. So that they could be changing something up. It could be a new character.
Yeah,
we don't know.
And again, let's say he's dead by the time Batman gets around.
Yeah, but the one thing we do know is that GCPD forensic unit and the CSI effectively they don't clean up the crime scene very well. Like you know, I was just thinking, okay, they know her blood is dangerous.
Yeah.
Why is that even being left there? Considering that Alice was taken away with hazmat suits on, which I thought was really good continuity, really consistent with the whole thing. Yet then, knowing all of this, there's a pool of blood that's formed on the floor. It's unfortunate that poor Captain Bonds looks up as the drop goes in, but I did think you really need to clean up after yourselves. Certainly when dealing with infectious, hazardous material. But hey, it wouldn't be Gotham without that.
Absolutely. It's an interesting development to see what happens in future. Tell you who else could clear up the streets of Gotham. We got 5 with his kick-ass fighting moves in this episode.
Yeah,
not bad. Emo Bruce. My God, this guy knows how to kick some butt.
Emo Bruce was pretty. Again, this is another element of this week's episode that I just thought was superb. Was Emo Bruce fighting kick-ass style, but also just that moment, those relationships with Selena. You know, it was really kind of touching. It was melancholic in a way. You know, that I've never had any friends before. I don't know why I'm here. I just thought that was just really really good, and you know, even though Selena has realized that he is a fraud, that it's not Bruce because of the other scars on his body after he's been knifed protecting her. You know, she still is there and hangs around helping him. Like I thought that was really cool, actually. And I really like that whole moment on the top of the roof where the pigeon coop is, where he's saying that, you know, I don't know what I'm here for. I don't know why I was down in Indian Hill. You know, why did they do this? Why can't I feel pain? He didn't even know that he looked like Bruce Wayne until, you know, a few days ago. So like, it's a really sad story, and I think Selena, probably by the fact that he looks like normal Bruce, real Bruce, that, you know, she's really caring for him, and I think it's kind of it's almost like real Bruce and Selena's relationship by proxy, and I think that's what makes it really good, because it shows what could be. But it's not with real Bruce. And I think that's really interesting. And I think you know, he steals the kiss, and it's his parting shot to real Bruce and Alfred.
Great moment
as he leaves, and the real great little kind of wry smile on his face as he jumps off the building. I mean, that was cool as well, that, you know, so okay, he can jump down, you know, what, 10 stories or more onto the roof of the car. And I mean, you are kind of just wondering, in terms of the theory, could this be the real Bruce? Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's a great way the writers have used this character to be able to do the things that they can't actually do with Bruce Wayne. You know, they created the character at the beginning of the show. His parents have been shot. He's standing in the street, and then we've pretty much followed his day-to-day life, apart from the time he spent skiing over in the Alps. But we've kind of followed his day-to-day life as you go. There's only so many times you can watch Bruce actually being trained, and they generally don't do that in the show. They show him being trained a little bit, and then that's used to propel some other storyline. So what they've done here is create a character that they can actually show this is what we want Bruce to be in future, and it's played by David Mazouz, so we know the actor can do all this stuff. So I'm wondering if we will see a little gap for David Mazouz to maybe go off and explore that other character, try and be the Bruce Wayne to become 5, because now he's seen this guy's abilities, and kind of go, okay, that's what I want to be able to do, and I'm able to do it with my size and at the height and age I am, because he's able to do it, so clearly I can do it, you know.
Yeah, but he's also been like developed. It's not just a lucky likey for Bruce Wayne. Of course. It's a war machine almost. It's he's impervious to pain. He can fight without having ever been trained.
Yeah.
He can now jump between buildings, presumably, as much as he can fall and land controlled down, 10 stories or whatever.
Yeah.
So, all those traits you could apply to Batman.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so that's really interesting to see. And I suppose...
we can go on to the final point.
We can, but there's still a little thing, because, I do like the fact that all this whole stealing of the kiss, these awkward teenage moments, it captures Alfred in the cage where, real Bruce is effectively saying, she kissed him because she thought it was me, all that, Alfred, you've done advanced interrogation techniques. Was he lying about it? There's all these awkward questions being fired by a teenager to Alfred, who really just wants to kind of get on with being Alfred.
Just make tea.
And I love that awkwardness, and then Bruce finally settles on the fact that, she probably just thought it was me.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm going to absolutely love it when she probably tells him the opposite. But in fairness, it was him that stole the kiss. Yeah. In that sense. So, I thought that was a nice little moment from all of this as well, between Alfred and the real Bruce. Just talking over those feelings and new emotions and all of this that come through at that age, I suppose. So
there's never a time I don't feel sorry for Alfred when he's put in these positions. He doesn't have any kids of his own, yet he does have to have these conversations with Bruce as he grows up, and these things happen to him, It does tend to be with poor Selina, is now in between the two Bruces. So interesting again that what we see at the leaving part of 5, when he's jumping off the building, he does say, "She won't see me again, and neither will you, Bruce." He's about to leave the city, so nobody is looking for 5. Everybody's expecting that he's gone from Gotham and we'll never see him again. Yeah. But on to our final point. Bruce's parents return?
Absolutely. Bruce Wayne's parents return. But in this case, it's emo doppelganger Bruce and his parents, the Court of Owls. I love the fact that she goes, "Well, we're your parents," with the window rolled down on the car, as she comes with Talon, or Proto-Talon, to kidnap emo Bruce. But I think it's what she says as well. She says, "You could be Bruce Wayne, you could be so much more." And this is where, those who like developing theories, speculation, could just go, does he replace real Bruce Wayne, but ultimately carries on the flag of being Bruce Wayne, in terms of fighting, in terms of fighting crime and so on, becoming the Batman as he gets older? Or is it just that, as you say, real Bruce takes inspiration from emo Bruce in determining what he's and who he's going to be? And that's probably the right way, but I just can't stop kind of theorizing and speculating that
the Bruce we've followed for 3 seasons may no longer be our Bruce by the end of this season.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen in the slightest, and it's pure wild speculation on my part. But
I like it, though.
I kind of just like that idea that the real Bruce ultimately is replaced by emo Bruce, but emo Bruce becomes Bruce Wayne and then obviously the Batman.
That gets so confusing. But yes, I'm interested. That's an interesting theory. We will definitely be watching out for that in the future. And the Court of Owls
confirm that I'm wrong, I would say.
We'll see. And the Court of Owls are back with Talon, showing that they were the ones involved, obviously, as we knew from earlier on in the season. They were the ones involved in the development of this character. They make the point that he is developed to be Bruce Wayne, so they did develop him for that reason. So we knew that was part of the theory. So really interesting to see what happens now. So so some of our theories about him being mistaken for Bruce in the future and getting killed or getting captured as the mistaken Bruce Wayne were wrong. They knew exactly who they were looking for, and they did catch him on the street. Yeah, that's our top 5 points for this episode. John, I'm gonna grab a couple of notes, I think, on the episode. Yeah, have you got any particular notes? I've got one or two here. I absolutely loved Barbara's line about being asked, is there any muscle in Gotham? We need someone with a little bit of flair. When she says, "It's Gotham, baby. Everybody's got flair." Absolutely loved that little moment from Barbara.
It was a great line. I think as well, you're in here again asking for things so often. It's like we're married. Yes. Scary thought. Again, I
wonderful Barbara.
Crazy Babs is really good, and I love her interaction with Jim always. I think I'm going to enjoy her interaction when she finally sees Leslie back in town. I wonder if this is how it's going to leak that Mario is Falcone's son, whether that's going to leak back to Jim via Scary Babs. Maybe. I just wonder. But again, I love the Selena and Alfred. They've had a bit of a tumultuous kind of relationship, but I love when, hero Bruce or aggressive Bruce, emo Bruce, after the fight, she's kind of going props to Alfred on his training. Thumbs up for Alfred with his training. I love that moment where she thinks it's real Bruce.
Absolutely.
So all some really I don't think there's a weak part of this episode for me. I really enjoyed absolutely all of it.
Another couple of quick ones. Loved Alfred's little shout out about the car, the fact that it's left in the Narrows again. Another callback to Dark Knight. It's left in the Narrows, and he's happy that he got more than the hubcaps back. Enough to tow away, he says. And one for me that I just thought was fun was the fact that Alfred used the phrase, "Where the dickens is this kid?" The reason why is because one of my school teachers used to use that phrase all the time, and I know it's from a novel. I know it's a literary phrase because he was English and was an English teacher, obviously, in our school, and he used to use this phrase, "What the dickens?" When you're a teenager in an Irish school and somebody's using that phrase, it does make you laugh quite a lot. So I was happy to see somebody else use it in the correct way in a TV show. So thanks for that, Sean Pertwee, and thanks for that, Alfred. That's all my notes. Anything else, John?
No, that's all my notes as well.
Thanks for joining us for this episode, in our top 5 of Gotham Season 3, Episode 4. One more big point to note, obviously, we do have our Bullockism of the week. This week, a couple of little candidates in there in the episode. Make sure that if you are interested in winning our Gotham prize for this season, which is our Harvey Bullock pop vinyl, plus a couple of other prizes that we put together over the next couple of weeks, just all you need to do is tell us your Bullockism of the week. You can email us to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com with your favourite line from Harvey Bullock of the week, or any thoughts about the show. You can also tweet us over on Twitter at Gotham TV Podcast, just hashtag Bullockism.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't tweet us, though.
Don't tweet us, no. John, what's the Bullockism of this week from us?
Well, my one is where Alice Tetch and Harvey Bullock are in the interrogation room, and Alice Tetch about the murder of her landlord. That was an accident, and Harvey replies with the infecting part or the lighting him on fire part. Really good line there.
A nice line moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That yes, okay. You've got poisonous or problematic blood running through your veins, but you still set him on fire.
Absolutely.
But she's also scared for her life. But I love Harvey's response to the infecting part or the lighting on fire part.
Absolutely. My other one for the episode was Captain Barnes speaking to Harvey, where he says, "You are following some misguided notion about friendship. James Gordon is going to get you killed one day. You get that?" And Harvey responds says, "Maybe, but until that day, I will never turn my back on him." Good old hero moment for Harvey.
Absolutely, yeah.
I love those just as much as comedy moments as well. I really like him getting some nice hero moments.
Yeah,
in the
that's a great line for Harvey. Definitely. Yeah. So on to feedback. So remember, if you have any thoughts or discussion or comments on any episode of Gotham or the season so far, please send them in to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. Remember, you can also leave any feedback, discussion or comments at our Facebook group or page. Just go to Facebook and search Gotham TV Podcast and join our group over there and like our page. And of course, as always, there is at Gotham TV Podcast on Twitter, where you can send in comments, obviously in a shortened format. But we have some more feedback from Daniel Butcher. He goes, "So, my son's observation, living in Gotham would be hard. I think you and I would be dead by now."
I think we'd both be dead.
I think so
Daniel.
too, absolutely. Yeah. Or we would be like hermits. We would not leave the house or apartment.
Absolutely.
Daniel goes on to say, "It was a little soap opera for me to have the Owls pick up Bruce clone. And what's up with Captain getting a bit of Alice's blood? Soap opera, which I'm declaring as a level of drama beyond comics."
Interesting.
Okay, interesting. "And seriously, nowhere, even in America, could someone who was placed in a hospital for the criminally insane could be named the chief of staff of a major city. Advisor, assistant, but chief of staff is just not believable. Agent Daniel out."
Okay, I said we're not going to get into politics, so I'm not going to make the obvious reference here. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting choice of the writers here to say that both of the characters who are in the lead positions for the city have both been in and out of Arkham Asylum. Oswald does make the point that he's now framed their certificates of sanity
and release. Exactly,
they are there. They are definitely sane. So while they were committed, both of them have been released. And once you've done the time and the crime has been washed away, you are entitled to go into public office, I presume. I'm not sure whether it would get by in 2 days in any other country, though.
No, probably not. I mean, absolutely. I suppose that's where you suspend disbelief for that split second when this is going on. But it is funny, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of moments like that, but I think they're beginning to be, an acceptable part of Gotham as to how they're doing it.
And as for the soap opera moments, to me, those are the last panel of some comic books that I've read over the years. The DC and Marvel comic books are very used to these big moments of shock, horror. Oh my God, something's just happened to our major character here. Dun, dun, dun. By the issue next week. So I think Gotham are starting to embrace those a little bit more. I'm not sure I'd call them soap opera because I've definitely seen them in a lot of the comic books that I've read.
Yeah, I mean, and I think as well, a lot of this is definitely, or certainly for me for this episode, a lot of it was about the characters. Alice and Tetch, Jim and Leslie, Jim and Barnes. Obviously there's the Tweedles, Doppelganger and Real Bruce. Doppelganger / Real Bruce in Selina's mind and Selina, and then the realization with Alfred in that mix as well. I think the Owls, with the overarching sort of storyline going on, again, a bit like with Fish Mooney, they've been out the picture for a couple of episodes, so it'd be good now to see them begin to develop whatever plan it is that they have with Emo Bruce. So I definitely think, yes, some of the plot elements can sometimes be a bit disbelieving, or it's convenient and so on. I mean, I suppose on the election of a mayor, at least it's consistently short between the different seasons. So I think, sometimes there's an issue. Something can be too fast. It can be a bit too outlandish. Yeah. But I think as well, Gotham has embraced the madness, the unbelievability that is in Gotham. Yeah. Like Joker or Jervis Tetch or the Riddler. The more unbelievable elements of those characters are here, definitely. But I think that makes it uniquely different amongst the superhero shows. So
certainly. I
on
can
TV.
I can certainly think of one of the shows that has a lot more soap opera than Gotham does. And if you did want to make the most depressing comic book show, you could base your soap opera on EastEnders, our own British soap opera, the most depressing show on television. So if they wanted to go that way and turn Gotham into a really depressing city, there is a template out there for a show that's run for 45 years, I guess.
Absolutely.
But anyway, thank you so much for your feedback, Daniel. Really good to hear from you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Daniel, as always, for the feedback. It's always challenging as well sometimes just to obviously get different opinions that don't always marry up with your own. But I mean, it's always good to get because, yes, it can also be a source of, yes, that plot issue was absolutely absurd, or you have to try and defend your points.
Absolutely.
So that's all for the feedback. I think it's just to wrap up from my side anyway, is that I would give this episode of Gotham 4 Tweedles out of 5. I really enjoyed this episode.
Only 3 survived the episode.
Exactly, I know. I really enjoyed this episode for all the ensembleness of it all and the character-driven elements of this. And I just really thought that, from Alice and her tea party with Barnes, getting infected, these are some really good developments to Captain Barnes, but also now to Tetch. But also, I think, with Jim Golden involved in all of that, how will all this play out? Because Jim has not got a good relationship with Barnes, and certainly not in the past. It's all been a bit terse. And then at the same time, we know that Tetch is going to blame Jim for the death of the sister that he loved. Again, we have the relationship of the Nig Mobblepot becoming realised, that bromance,
and new love,
and the new love that blossomed only briefly between Emo Bruce and Selina, that was finished with a kiss.
She thought it was Bruce.
Yeah, she did. She honestly thought it was Bruce. So I think it was a really good, solid episode again.
Absolutely, yeah. Really enjoyed this one. Looking forward to how this develops out throughout the season. We're only 4 episodes into a 22-episode season, so loads more story to go. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again next Wednesday, as always, with a new podcast about Gotham.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, as always. Remember that you can find us on gothamtvpodcast.com/iTunes, or search Gotham TV Podcast on any other good podcast catcher. Subscribe, leave a review. As always, it's a pleasure discussing this show with you, and we will see you again next week.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thanks for being a Butch supporter. Butch loves you, baby.